All right, guys, another episode to the Show We Go Baseball podcast. Dipping back into the Blue Jays system today. I think we might have done the Blue Jays about the most this offseason. We have our fifth Blue Jay of the offseason. We've had our guy Hayden Yinger on. He's one of the 618 boys back home, the St. Louis guy. We've had Josh Kasevich, Trenton Wallace, and Nick Robertson on this offseason. So we're dipping back in. We got Phil Clarke on today. If you're not too familiar with Phil, he started 2024 in the great state of New Hampshire, then made it up to Buffalo in the middle of the season and finished out there in AAA. So, Phil, I know you're back home right now. I just want to see how's the offseason been treating you?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Andrew. No, it's been great. I took some classes this fall, so working on the college degree and just working out, seeing some family, seeing some friends, and uh, gets shorter every year, so getting ready to get going.
Yeah, it's creeping up, man. I know we were just talking about it a little bit that the off season is less than a month away of you reporting to spring training. So, what kind of have you been training back home most of the off season? I guess what has it looked like for you since you got back from Buffalo?
Yeah, I've been training back home. I got a great facility with my agency in Franklin, Tennessee. And so I at the beginning of the off season, I split time between Vanderbilt and there. So like days I had class, I'd train at Vandy. Days I didn't, I'd go down there. So I've got two great facilities. Can't go wrong here. And just kind of stay in Nashville. Other than, I mean, it's wedding season and
Oh
wedding age. So been going to a lot of weddings.
I've been to, I think we had 7 weddings in 2024. Because we're just getting to that age, man. It's just
It's
like
unreal.
everybody, between her friends, my friends, it's just like it's crazy, man. How many did you go to this off season?
Oh, I think I went to four out
Ooh.
of, I think there were two I couldn't make it to. There's a couple on the same day. So I think like I could have gone to like eight or nine, but I think I went to four or five, which stinks
Yeah.
because like I want to go to every wedding I'm invited to.
It's a good excuse for, to go out and see your friends, and then
Yeah,
obviously a free dinner comes with it. So it's like I always say this, like if we ever get invited to a wedding, even if I know 2 people there, I was like, we're going. Like I don't
100%.
care.
Yeah.
It's an excuse to go out and have a good night because we're getting to
Yeah.
that age now where it's like we don't really go clubbing anymore. We don't do any of that stuff. So it's like I don't know. A wedding is the best of both worlds on that.
Yeah. And it's like it's an honor to get invited to somebody's wedding.
Oh yeah.
I think. Like I'm like, okay, yeah. Like that's awesome. Like thank you for considering me that good of a friend.
Oh yeah, I just got married in October, so like we just went through that whole thing where it's just
Yeah.
like we were making the list and we're just like, okay, now I see why it's such a big deal. Like you get invited to somebody's wedding, it's a big deal, man. So
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. I'm gonna plug you here for a second. I saw you had something coming up. You got a catching clinic coming up. I think
Yes.
it's about a week from now.
Week from today.
Okay, so do you kind of want to talk about that and how that came to, and I guess just what that's all about?
Yeah. So I think, 3 or 4 off seasons in a row I've been giving lessons. But off season's tough. I don't have like that much time. You think you have a lot of time, but you don't have that much. And even when you do, it's only 2 or 3 months long. So sometimes you have to turn away some people who want some lessons. And so personally, I enjoy teaching catching. I think it's a good opportunity for me to learn. Coaching is something that's definitely not off the table for me when I'm done playing. I have a lot of friends who are really smart, really good catchers, and so I was like, you know what? Like I got access to this awesome facility at my high school. It's like, let's do a catching camp. Um, so that I don't have to turn anybody away and anybody can sign up and uh, yeah, like there's nothing more than that. It's just I've done something like it in the past, not my own with my name on it. But I've helped out some youth teams and some travel teams with bigger groups, and it's definitely like fun and fast moving. Um, so sometimes the one-on-one stuff can get a little monotonous, or I'm trying to make sure I give them the best information I can. Whereas with the camp, I can write it all down, schedule it out, and give these kids like an awesome experience. So I think it'll be fun. I got my boys Ty Duvall and Knox Preston. Ties with Seattle, and Knox played Division 1 baseball, and I think he's preparing for the draft now. I got them helping me out, so it should be a really good time.
Do you foresee this becoming a like annual event to where it's like, if this goes well this year, you might try again next year?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. If it goes well, I would love to. I mean, I'm like so lucky to have the access that I have to my high school's indoor facility to give lessons. Like, so I give all my lessons there. I help out with the team a little bit with their catchers. So that's kind of like a trade-off. I help out as much as I can with the team and help those guys and I give some lessons out of the facility. So they're letting me use the facility for the clinic and couldn't be more thankful, grateful to them. So there's really no reason for it not to be an annual thing unless something goes really wrong. So
It's a good point, and hopefully there's no snowstorms hitting the Tennessee area. I saw you guys got kind of buried
oh
just this
yeah,
past week, so hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm sure you guys will have a little better weather than this past week there in the Tennessee area.
for sure.
Um, but I always think it's so cool, like guys giving back to where they're from, and and I mentioned a name earlier in Hayden Yinger, and that's a guy that I always look at of being, me and him grew up like right down the road from each other in St. Louis, and he's always kind of working with all the younger guys there in that area and that area code there and in the east side of St. Louis. And I think it's so cool, like seeing you guys being in a position you are, just kind of give back a little bit to where what made you or what area you grew up in. And I don't know. I like that you're like full Tennessee too. You went to Vanderbilt. I just love that you're like Tennessee through and through. I love that.
Yeah, definitely Nashville, Franklin through and through. Um, wherever baseball takes me, wherever life takes me, but definitely hoping to end up here one day and stay here. So whatever I can do to give back, there's so many indoor facilities, so many coaches around here that, when I was in high school made my life, my training so much easier. Um, and I have a lot of respect for those guys. So, whatever I can do to give back to their teams or their facilities or anything like that, I always try to do.
All right. Well, I have some more Tennessee questions that I'm going to get to later. I got to ask you about the boring on the field baseball stuff now, but well, I mean, not so boring. Got up to AAA this year, and I know
Yeah.
I was looking on your page. I saw you had one at bat at AAA. I think at the end of 2023. So we're not going to count that. So you were officially up in AAA here this past season. Can you kind of talk about like some of the experiences and I guess takeaways you had from getting up to Buffalo this year?
Yeah. Man, I love Buffalo. I think that it people don't give it as much respect as it deserves, like the city itself. I really enjoyed being there. Obviously, like our stadium there is top notch because the major league team played there for a couple seasons. Yeah, no complaints about Buffalo. I loved it. I love the environment of AAA is pretty different than AA. You got those big league vets, you've got elite minor league prospects, you got kind of a mix of everything, and the environment is like, I mean, I haven't played in the major leagues yet, but I feel like I mean, it's definitely as close as you can get in minor league baseball. There's not a question about that, but the game planning as a catcher kind of took another step forward, and just I kind of realized the importance of catching up there. I think at the lower levels, it's easy to get caught up in the offense as a catcher, in your offense. That defense is more important, and you got a game plan. But the resources that we have in AAA to game plan, it's night and day. And so, just having those resources and seeing the importance of it with like veteran catchers that were on the team. Like I had Brian Servin, Max McDowell, Peyton Henry, and like kind of the effort that they put into game planning. I learned a lot from those guys, and I think like the environment in AAA prepares you for the major leagues like way more than I expected. So it was fun, man. Like a lot of new experiences. The talent jump from high A to double A, low A to high A, like it may be there, but the environment jump from like double A to triple A is like legit. And it was a good experience. It was fun, and man, the talent up there was incredible. We got some really good teams that we play. We got Worcester, Syracuse, like Rochester, all those teams around Buffalo, like they were all loaded, and great pitching, and it was it was definitely an experience. It was fun.
Yeah, I spent a little time traveling around the International League this past year, and obviously spent a lot of time out in Worcester as well. And I think you hit on something that that I kind of agree with, and it's like you spend some time around some Double A locker rooms and clubhouses, and then you spend some time around some Triple A clubhouses and locker rooms. So different. It's completely different. And I think just with the aspect, like you said, of the guys having some experience, you had a guy in your locker room that is a fingers crossed first ballot Hall of Famer coming up whenever his time comes. What was that like for you? Just having Joey Votto in the room and just seeing how he goes and preps through for every game.
Man, it was so cool. I'm actually sitting here looking at my my Joey Votto signed bat. That is my new prized possession. Um, but man, it was really cool. I had the pleasure of doing some first base early work with him a few times where we bonded. Um, got to pick his brain about hitting, but just, I mean, the coolest part about the guy is his personality and who he is in the clubhouse. He actually took us all to dinner in Worcester, which was like such a cool experience. And he just, like he was part of the team. Like he rode the bus, he stayed in the hotel. He he was just part he was a Buffalo Bison, and like as weird as that sounds, like he embraced it, and he was like so awesome in the clubhouse, and just really funny, really fun to be around, and put effort into getting to know the guys, which was just amazing. Like for a player of that caliber, and yeah, like hopefully a Hall of Famer, um, just to like put effort into asking me, you know, where I'm from, about my past, like me as a player, my family, just things like that. Is like it's just it's not hard to find, but when you do find it, and there are guys like that, you really really appreciate it, especially as a guy who, you know, Joey Votto doesn't need to ask me where I'm from. Like he doesn't need to care, but he did, and it was just a really cool experience.
Yeah, I feel like that's so refreshing to kind of hear
Mm.
things like that. And it's like, like you said, he rode the bus with you. It's like Joey Votto doesn't need to ride the bus with you guys. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? It's like it's Joey
Yeah.
Votto. It's like but he did anyway. And it's like things like that. And obviously like AAA, there's a lot of guys that have MLB time, and maybe you got like a 6-year vet over there and all that. But having a guy that spent 20 years, in Cincinnati doing what he did, and then going around with you guys. And I remember him when you guys were at Worcester. I think towards the end of the year. I think it was probably right before he had kind of hung it up. But I remember he was just like, I don't know if he was grounding or what he was doing, but it was a little chilly out there, and he was just in like he wasn't wearing much. Like he was like wearing like a tank top and shorts, but and he was just kind of like out there like doing he was doing like I don't even know what he was doing, but he was like swinging an imaginary bat, and he was just talking to one of your guys on your team. And I'm just like, this is like who this guy is. Like it's just
Yep.
like he doesn't need to be doing this. Like he retired, I think, like 2 weeks later. So
To
for
a
you
T.
though, seeing him like in the clubhouse, what is like one thing that you kind of took from him, not on the field, but just like to go about getting ready for games? Like, was there one thing that kind of really stuck out to you?
Man, to go about getting ready for games, probably just, I mean, and you see it with all those guys who have had so much success in the big leagues. It's just their routine. Um, Same thing every day. Gets to the field at the same time every day. Takes care. I mean, took care of his body like no other. Was always in the training room, getting what he needed, and in the cage. And um, yeah, I think you ask anybody one thing that they take away from a big league veteran, it's usually going to be their routine, because all those guys who are elite, they all have really really good routines, and obviously like Joey's no different. Um, but I think like just his competitive fire, like he wanted to play well, like he wanted to play well down there, like in AAA, like, and that's something you notice, like he cared when he didn't have to. So, I mean, respect the game and the game will respect you. You hear that all the time, and I think that he's a perfect example of that.
All right, so I am excited to ask you this question because you're my first catcher I've had on
Hmm.
this offseason. We got our good pal Steven Scott coming on in a couple weeks, but
The man.
um, yeah, love Scotty. So you got to experience the challenge system this year, and
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of teams. I know Worcester was one of those teams as well, where they didn't let the pitchers challenge any calls because the pitchers might be a little biased. So they're like, the catcher is the only guy that's going to be able to call the challenge. What did you think about the challenge system?
Yeah, well, we also had that rule. Some of our pitchers did not adhere to it, but that rule was floating around our clubhouse for sure. I love the challenge system. I think if they're going to go to some sort of automated system, I would much rather that than full automated balls and strikes because that hurts, catchers a lot. Um, so I think it's really interesting. They made some adjustments. They went from 3 to 2. They did a lot of stuff with it. There's still some things they need to get right, like having consistency across ballparks. But I think it's it suits everybody. It takes huge moments out of umpires' hands occasionally. Umpires still call balls and strikes. It's still a skill. Catchers still receive. But it those huge moments in games can be a little more fair, and I think that's really important. I think fans want to see that. Um, but yeah, challenging the actual challenging. It's gonna be interesting in the big leagues. Um,
Mhm.
because a lot of guys they'll strike out looking, and they'll be like, "There's no way I just struck out looking." Like I'm challenging that, but like that's the only reason they're challenging it. But I actually saw it for the first time in the spring breakout game this year,
Okay.
and I think I in the top of the first, I no, yeah, top of the first, I challenged one as a catcher, got it wrong on ball four. Bottom of the first, struck out look or no, I walked and Ben Rice challenged and it was strike three, and I was like, I'm off this. I'm out. I hate the challenge system, but seeing it throughout the season, I think it's the way to go for sure.
Yeah, I was you mentioned earlier you guys kind of had that same rule where it's like, hey, just catch do it. I was supposed to shout out our guy Jake Bloss because I think he was one of those guys that constantly kept challenging the calls as a pitcher. So I was supposed to shout him out on that question there. Uh,
Yes, Jake Boss. He got some right though, I think. I might be giving him too much credit, but I think he got a couple right.
what do you think your success rate was like if you had to guess?
I went through some I was like I kind of had it based on umpire. Like there was like some
Okay.
umpires that I knew couldn't see the bottom, and so I would do really well. And then there were some umpires who I'm just like I couldn't figure out, and then I'd do bad. So like based on the game, like I would be good or bad. I wasn't that great. Not as good as I want to be. I'm hoping this year I can take a step in the right direction. Max McDowell, that guy's a good challenger. I'd say I was probably 80%. That might be
Okay.
a little generous. 75, 80%. Not as good. Yeah, not as good as I want to be. But a lot of that is situations where you have two challenges left in the ninth inning, and you're like, you gotta go. Like you gotta just challenge. Like this is probably a ball, but you have to challenge it just in case
Yeah.
it's clipping. Like, we're up to man on first, no outs, and you walk them first and second on 3-2. And you have challenges left to use. You're like, might as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Can't take him with you.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I would be I hope they start keeping track of that stuff because I do I don't know if that's gonna become like a new thing for catchers where it's just like,
Oh,
well,
it'll
this
become a
guy's
thing.
okay.
Yeah,
That might be kind of fun. I don't know. Like this guy's 90% right usually or something like that. I don't know. I feel like that's like a skill if it goes to the MLB one day.
for sure.
Okay. Yeah, that is interesting. I like hearing it from a catcher's perspective since you guys were supposed to be the guy doing it. All right. So I'm shooting to one of my final questions here on the field before I shoot some other stuff. But so last spring, you got an NRI to spring training, big league camp. And now we're going on to 2025. I know nothing's been announced yet. I don't think as of like an hour ago. I don't know if anything's been announced yet on if you're getting a roster invite or whatever, but let's just assume that you are. what are you looking forward to in 2025? So now that you're one call away here in AAA, like I feel like this might be a pretty big spring training for you. So what kind of things are you looking forward to in 2025?
Yeah, man, I'm just I- I'm just trying to hone in on my game preparation and scouting reports, putting that effort in, gaining pitchers' trust. Um, because in my opinion, like, that's how I get up there. So I think offensively, just control what I can control, put together quality at bats, but really putting a lot of effort, a lot of emphasis into game preparation, and evaluating hitters and having that plan that those guys can trust me and being a guy where pitchers are like, Phil's prepared, Phil knows his stuff, and he can go up there and handle his own. So I think I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the opportunities, man. Like every year you get closer and this year's no different. So I'm hoping I can, put together a good camp and see what happens. So much is out of my control and all I can really do is go in and try to get better every day and keep improving, keep putting in effort and hopefully gain those guys' trust and help that team, help Buffalo, maybe help Toronto, but whatever team I'm on, um, be that guy who's prepared and that guy who you can trust.
Speaking of spring training that I just asked you about, do any of your plans coming this spring involve caddying at the Valspar again?
I hope so. I got to talk to Ern. I'm sure. I don't know if I'll be his caddy, but I'm sure he's playing again. So hopefully we can run it back. I mean, I think he shot 72. So I mean, I don't know why he wouldn't ask me back.
Okay.
I got a sweet garment bag out of it that I use all the time. Speaking of weddings. So yeah, I mean, I would love to. I got to talk to him though.
What was that experience like just being like at an event like that? Obviously it's a pro-am, but like, you're there with, some PGA stars and it's obviously a great course. So like what was that experience like for you?
Oh, it was so cool. Shout out Rafa Campos. Just won on the PGA Tour like 3, 4 weeks ago. That was our pro. The man, like the coolest guy. Me and Ernie both left, and we were like, "That is the coolest person." Because we had a rain delay, and we went in and sat at a table in the restaurant with him and just talked like golf. Like such a cool day. Saw Baker Mayfield, saw a bunch of guys, bunch of PGA pros. Like never thought that I would get to do something like that. So shout out Ernie for letting me do that. But yeah, I mean, just an awesome day. Saw some good golf, and then went out to the tournament. The I think I went Saturday, followed Rafa around, uh, saw those guys. So yeah, so cool. I love when that it's super cool that that tournament's so close to our complex every year. We try to head out there.
How involved were you as a caddy? Were you one of those guys that like you were reading every putt, you were right next to him, or like were you kind of like you probably a better golfer than I am?
Yeah, I mean, I probably helped him on 2 putts, and then
Okay.
just some casual conversation, kept him company. Carried the bag, of course. But no, Ernie's a super athlete. I mean, that guy can do anything, so he doesn't really need. And even his golf game, it's just all feel. Like he's just uses his athleticism, so he doesn't need me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, you said he shot a 72?
I think he shot 72 or 74, something low. Like he had a good round. He's
Must
a
be
he's a
nice,
great
man.
golfer.
Yeah, not one of us. That's a different breed, man. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so I'm going to shoot to some things here off the field here as we kind of wind down here. And I always like showing some love, and I know we kind of talked about it a little bit off air, but I always like showing love to like where you came from, and obviously you come from a storied program of Vanderbilt. And I know I joked with you earlier, you're like Tennessee through and through, like that's just who you are. Um, how was it a tough decision to choose Vandy, or like were you kind of intrigued by that team over there in Knoxville, or I guess what was that like for you? Like why Vanderbilt?
Yeah, no, wasn't a tough decision for me. I committed pretty young, pretty early, knew it was where I wanted to go. Never thought about that team in Knoxville now. Um,
Okay,
maybe in elementary school, but the more I grew up, the more I looked at the Vanderbilt baseball program and just how cool it would be to be able to go there. And, at the time when they contacted me, I had really only was talking to kind of mid majors and still didn't really think it was a possibility. And I was like, oh, wow. Like I didn't really know that they saw that in me. So, yeah, it wasn't a long process. It wasn't at all. I kind of knew that was the place for me.
All right, I'm gonna read you off a couple names here of
Okay.
guys that you played with at Vanderbilt, and yeah, I got a question about this. So you played with guys like JJ Bleday, Austin
Hmm.
Martin, Kumar Rocker, it's a good name, Jake Eater, Dom Keegan, Steven Scott, Justin Henry Malloy. Names go on and on. Like those are all the guys that I was kind of just peeking through, and I'm like, I know these names. These guys are either in the bigs, right on the cusp, whatever it is. Um, what was that like playing with guys like that? Probably for the first time in your life, because I would assume in high school you probably didn't have a ton of guys that were going on to play professional baseball. So getting in that environment there, Vanderbilt, and having every guy that I just listed was a draft pick, probably in top 10 rounds, 12 rounds, whatever. So what was that like just being in a clubhouse with all those guys and having that much talent around you for the first time in your career?
I mean, it's amazing. Like so fun. Like it's like because in high school you might be around it, but you're not playing on the same team as them. Like you're like that guy's really good. Like that guy's really good. They're all on different teams, and like looking around the clubhouse, and being like all these guys are on our team. Like there's no way that we don't win a national championship.
Yeah.
Like it's like wow, like this is incredible. And but the coolest part is getting to know them as people. I lived with JJ. Austin's still one of my best friends. I mean, like I see Kumar all the time. Um, just getting to know those guys as people and then seeing the success they have. I mean, you're not surprised, but you're also like, man, like that is so cool because they're just awesome guys. And I went through so much with them. Fall practice, spring and just getting to know them off the field, in class, like seeing them in class. It's just like it's awesome. So for those guys to be your teammates, but like also be your friends is just something really cool. Not a lot of people can look at most MLB teams and be like, yeah, I have a friend on that team. But when you play on a team like that in college, that tends to happen because those guys are absolute studs. But I would say the coolest part about playing with them is just getting to know them as people.
Yeah, and speaking of your college time, I sniped this little thing about you off of your Vanderbilt player page. So shout out to all the colleges that have
Oh
this.
man.
But no, it's actually a funny thing because I've had quite a few guys on this off season, and I've had probably 10 or so guys that majored in psychology.
Yeah.
So why did you choose to major in psychology?
Yeah, psychology has always been what interested me. In high school, our baseball coach was the AP psych teacher,
Okay.
and so I loved his class because he's the baseball coach, and I always was really interested by sports psychology, and yeah, I don't know. I didn't hate school, but I would say psych was like the one subject that I enjoyed, and I actually went into Vandy an econ major. Um, and my freshman spring, I had the opportunity. Corbs brought in Ken Revisa when we were in LA, who was
Ooh,
like,
okay.
yeah, elite baseball guy, sports site guy.
I know that name. Yeah.
Yeah, and I met with him. I signed up. Like Corbs was like, if you want a one-on-one, let us know. So I got a one-on-one with him, and I kind of walked out of there being like, man, like that would be a really, really cool job, and it's really interesting. And I think when I got back, I talked to our academic advisor and I switched my major to psych. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm telling you, it's a very popular. I've had psychology and kinesiology are like the two majors I see the most for
Yeah.
guys. And I had Andrew Morris. He's pitching in the twin system, and he had told me he's just like he's a pitcher, and he's like, I think pitching is like 90% mental. The other 10% is
Mm-hmm.
like physical, but he's like, it's mental. That's why I majored in psychology. So it makes sense why some
100%.
baseball
Yeah.
players do that.
Psychology and kinesiology are like two main things you need to be an athlete.
Yep. I agree. Okay, so I got like 2 minutes left here. I got just some random questions here. You don't got to
Okay.
think about them too hard. If you have an off day, what are you doing in your free time?
Golf.
That's popular. It's the most popular answer I get.
Breakfast first, though. Absolutely. Like, have to go to whatever city I'm in, have to go to the best breakfast restaurant there.
Okay, so a lot of first watches this year.
In Florida, tons of first watches.
It's fair enough. I want to drop a conspiracy theory about golf that I've gotten on this podcast from a few position players. I'm going to see what you think.
Okay.
Do you believe that as a position player yourself, does it mess with your swing at all?
Hmm. I go back and forth. I think too much. If I'm playing golf every single day, it could, but I don't think in once, twice a week, 3 times a week. I've swung a baseball bat so many times. I don't think anything can override it.
Okay. Well, our good pal Josh Kasevich said that he heard Mike Trout say in an interview that he golfs like every day, like in the off season. So he's going to say if Mike Trout can do it, so can we. So
I
I
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. If you were not a professional baseball player right now, what would you be doing with your life?
Good question. I think about that all the time. I don't know, honestly. Like, did I ever play baseball in my life? Like, is it
It's a good question, actually. What if you played up until the end of high school and then you were just like, I just, I can't play anymore. So it's like, what would you have done?
oh, probably that's a really good question. Um, I mean, I feel like growing up, I always had the lawyer thing, but like, I don't think that would have lasted. Maybe something with sports, because I was always into sports. Maybe a sports psychologist.
Ooh,
But
okay.
I feel like
All
I
right.
need the professional baseball experience for that. So I don't
Yeah,
know. That's a great question.
could always be one of those psycho those I was watching Full Swing, the golf Netflix series,
Yeah,
and those sports psychologists that kind of work with those golfers. Like I feel like I was like, that's kind of a dream job. It's like those guys are
insane.
like, yeah, everyone
So
needs them.
cool.
Like every golfer needs it.
Yeah.
Okay, I got two questions left. I got you're a Tennessee guy, so I'm not sure who you were rooting for growing up or anything like that. But who are some of your favorite athletes growing up? Doesn't just have to be baseball.
Favorite athlete. So I actually grew up a Georgia Tech fan.
Ooh,
So Calvin Johnson, Megatron. So I was born in Atlanta. So Chipper Jones. You know who I loved growing up? Obscure name for you, Martin Prado.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, Martin Prado because I thought he was so cool because he always had the pine tar on his shoulder from his bat. Um, and then Tennessee Titans guy, diehard Tennessee Titans. So Keith Bulluck, uh, loved Keith Bulluck, Chris Johnson, CJ2K,
Yeah,
yeah,
incredible.
Steve McNair, just anybody that wore a Titans uniform, absolutely love.
Anybody but Jake Locker, or are you a Jake Locker guy?
I didn't mind Jake Locker,
I didn't
man.
either. I liked
Yeah,
him.
I didn't mind him. I mean, we've had worse.
Yeah.
We've had worse.
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
this year.
It's I'm a Patriots fan, so I know us and the Titans. We're
Thank you
we're
for the
right.
pick.
Yeah, it's tough scene. All right, cool. I got one question left, and are you a food guy at all?
Food?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So am I. So I always kind of joke that me and my wife always like to travel to new places and look for the restaurants, the hole in the wall pizza shops, whatever it is. But we're going to the other end of this sentence here, and where it's going to be. I need your Mount Rushmore. I need your top four places, and they're going to be restaurant chains. So it can be either fast food or sit down. What would be your top four?
Wow. Okay. National chains? Like everybody
Yeah,
knows
that
them?
you can
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
probably like majority of the country.
I'm going first watch. So just Mount Rushmore, not ranked.
No, this is your top four. It doesn't have to be one through
Okay.
four.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah. Not in order. I'm going first watch.
okay.
Um, I'm gonna go Chipotle.
It's the most basic answer. Yeah.
It's just so basic. It's like uh, it's not like gonna get me excited, but it's just something. I mean, I can always eat it. You
Mm-hmm.
know?
Always the same.
Yeah, always the same. Uh, man, this is hard off the top.
You're missing some easy ones here right now.
Oh, really?
Well, the most common answers I've gotten, every single guy tells me the same three. So,
Oh, really? Is
oh
Chick-fil-A
yeah,
one of them?
oh yeah, every time.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
Chick-fil-A
I
and
was definitely
Chipotle.
gonna go Chick-fil-A, but I was saving it. So first watch Chipotle, Chick-fil-A. Dude, honestly, like I'm putting Waffle House on there.
Wow, some Wahoo love.
Yeah.
Okay, I love Waffle House,
What are
man.
some other ones?
Texas Roadhouse, it's a big one.
Okay. I wouldn't have put that's not on mine.
I've gotten Longhorn Steakhouse like a lot, which
Not
is
on
I've never
mine either.
been. So, I got Culver's quite a bit. I don't know if you're a Culver's guy.
See, that's a Midwest thing.
Got Canes a lot. And then I always get the California and Texas guys give me Whataburger in and out. So that's always up
Okay,
there.
no, I like my list. I'm standing
Okay.
strong on my list.
Hey, appreciate it. Hey,
Yeah.
I like the list. But all right, Phil, I appreciate all the time you gave me. Obviously, spring training coming up. Looking definitely best of luck with you heading towards spring and obviously heading down to Florida and obviously the 2025 season. But thank you so much for hopping on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.